What's up, everybody? Thank y'all so much for tuning back in. We are on episode 2 of the Bar and Kitchen podcast. My name is Chris Norkus, and I will be handling the beverages today. So we've got an awesome cocktail planned, and I'm going to pair a nice little bottle of wine with what my man, Chef Dan, has prepared for us. Chef, tell him what's on the menu.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in for episode 2 of the Bar and Kitchen podcast. Like Chris Norkus just said, my name is Dan, and today I'm going to show you how to make fries from scratch, what potato to use, and we're going to also make some smash burgers. So with that being said, Chris, I'm also thirsty. Take it away.
Awesome. Who doesn't love smash burgers, right? These are like I feel like every time I go on my phone, if I open up a social media app, everybody's talking about smash burgers, where you can get the best smash burgers. And I have a feeling that this is where you can get the best smash burgers around. This cocktail today, when we were coming up with the menu, we were texting back and forth, and you were like, nothing says summer more than burgers and watermelon.
Exactly.
So I am doing a watermelon, kind of a Collins, right? So kind of like almost like an agua fresca. We're gonna be using fresh watermelon, and I've got all kinds of different delicious flavors to go pair with that. So,
Well, it sounds really good.
let's get it started. Oh yeah, we got some awesome looking watermelon here. I chopped up this watermelon just the other day. Probably my favorite fruit, especially, summertime. It's in season, it's sweet, it's sugary, it's delicious. I love it. So I'm making 2 servings again today. So I'm gonna use quite a bit of watermelon because it is mostly water. So I don't wanna lose the flavor here. So this is probably, weight-wise, I'm not sure, but it's a lot,
Like 4
right?
ounces,
So
maybe?
we've got this whole thing filled, and now I'm gonna take my muddler, and I'm gonna muddle this down. So there's a couple different techniques when you're muddling. If you're muddling fresh herbs for like a mojito, you don't really wanna muddle too hard because you're just trying to release the oils and the aromas and flavors from the mint. Whereas with this watermelon agua fresca, I actually want to turn this watermelon into, just like a kind of a sludge here. Not the prettiest word, but you kind of catch the drift, right? We got like this nice
You're
watermelon.
mashing the flavors together.
Mashed watermelon. Love it. Awesome. All right, so then next up, what I'm going to add is some sweetener. Like we said, watermelon has all that delicious kind of fresh fruit, natural fruit sugars going on, but I want to get some more sweetness in this cocktail. So I'm going to be using simple syrup, probably the best way to add sweetness to a cocktail. But I want to take a time out. I want to make sure that nobody that is listening or watching on YouTube right now is ever going to go to the store and buy pre-made simple syrup. Have you ever
Why is that, Chris?
Well, let me ask you, have you ever bartended before?
I have not.
But you're a chef, I'm betting that you can figure out how to make simple syrup.
I'm assuming it's equal parts sugar and water, or any liquid, I'm
It
assuming?
is just that simple. Equal parts sugar and water, and you've got simple syrup. When you're buying the simple syrup in the store, 9 times out of 10, it's probably high fructose corn syrup. It's probably not just sugar and water, and it's just so easy to make. So just make your own simple syrup, equal parts sugar and water, and we're gonna use 1.5 ounces here. So it's gonna be a little sweet, but like I always say, you're always gonna look for balance in a cocktail. So when I add something sweet, next I wanna add something bitter. So if you're familiar with Campari, this is an Italian liqueur, very, very bitter. And when I describe something bitter, I don't mean sour or tart. That would be lemon juice or lime juice. When I think of bitter, I think of Dallas Cowboy fans, like super bitter. So no, but for real though, when you have something bitter, it is kind of evaporates the moisture from your mouth. Like if you imagine
I never thought of that.
chewing on like tree bark, right? It's gonna,
Yeah.
maybe not the most.
Like a beaver.
Yes, exactly.
Canadian.
Yes, so that's different than sour or tart, like lemon juice that kind of puckers your mouth.
Yeah.
This is more of like a sensation. So I'm not gonna use too much Campari, but it's gonna give us an awesome color as well. So I'm gonna use a full ounce of Campari. And that's again for 2 servings. So 1/2 ounce and a half ounce.
Notice that Americans are getting more used to bitter flavors.
Okay.
Because I feel like we used to be more into like the sweet flavors, and I've
Sure.
noticed that bitter is coming back.
Okay.
And I think that it also helps with layering flavors, right?
I think so too, especially with cocktails. You know, in food also. You know, in cuisine as well as in cocktails. You're definitely you want to utilize those bitter flavors. But like I said, you have to balance it too. You don't want your drink to be all bitter or all tart or all sweet. You want to kind of have that harmonious blend of all things. Freshly squeezed lime juice is going to give us that tart component.
All right.
You know, kind of a classic ingredient in cocktails would be fresh citrus. So I'm going to get my lime juice here.
Not much fresher than that.
Exactly. Lime and watermelon, great combination. As I'm like making this drink, I'm realizing mint would have been an awesome addition to this as well. But
Watermelon, mint, and lime.
that's like classic.
But this is good for sometimes people don't have mint, so this is perfect. You can add it. It's a good idea to add it to it.
Absolutely. If you don't have mint, don't use Tic Tacs. That is not an acceptable substitute for fresh mint. And now we're going to hit it with some vodka. Again, I'm always going to talk about shopping local. So Deep Eddy vodka is from Dripping Springs, Texas.
Not that far away from here.
About half hour max, about half an hour outside of Austin. Really cool vibe.
Looking
cool
for sponsors?
distillery. Yeah, come on, Deep Eddy.
I'm looking for sponsors. Not that
Yes.
far away.
This is their regular, you know, straight vodka, but they also have a ruby red vodka, which is like the official drink of Austin. It feels like everybody drinks ruby red and soda. So we're gonna do 1.5 ounces each, right? So this is gonna be a bit of a stiff drink. That's okay though.
Yeah,
So
nothing wrong with that.
yeah, 1.5 ounces each, so 3 total ounces of vodka. I'm gonna give this a good shake. Look at that, we got a lot of pulp. That's probably a nicer way of saying sludge, like I said.
Yeah, probably better than sludge. But
Yeah, so we got a nice pulpy mixture here, and I'm gonna show you how to get the pulp out of the cocktail also. All right. When you have a cocktail that is got maybe fresh herbs in there, or in this case, watermelon pulp, we're gonna do a technique called a double strain. So I've got my Hawthorne strainer here, which is your standard cocktail strainer. And then I've got my fine mesh strainer. And this is gonna catch all the seeds and pulp and stuff like that. Whereas this Hawthorne strainer will stop the ice from
make it nice and clean.
pouring out. Yeah, super clean. It's gonna be a tall boy. Get that all going in there. Takes a little time. Got to have some patience to make sure you get every last little drip. And ice this up.
Because I always notice the shake is always a big part of the show.
It is.
Is there a certain way you're supposed to shake that, or we can do that on another video?
Yeah, let's do that on the next episode. I'll kind of go into my shaking technique. A lot of bartenders call it a three-point shaking technique. That is kind of the standard these days.
Well, it looks really nice.
Awesome. Well, it's going to look a lot better when I hit it with a little soda water, just to give it some effervescence from the bubbles there. Not too much. That's about an ounce of soda water.
You know, you're a professional when you have your own soda water maker.
SodaStream, looking for sponsors. We're going to garnish this with some pretty watermelon cubes and a straw. So we're looking for, Chef, this is for you, sir.
All right, looking good.
We're looking for hopefully a balance of sweet, tart, bitter, watermelony, citrusy, all those delicious flavors. Let's cheers, sir.
It looks really nice.
Yeah, it's got that beautiful summery color. Cheers.
All right.
I love it.
You know what also would go really well in here?
Tell me.
A little tahini.
Yes, absolutely. That is like your next level addition here would be to add a little bit of sprinkle of tahini. You could do it on the rim.
Little
You can
chamoy.
hit it right on that watermelon itself right there would be delicious. This is a classification of cocktails that I have created myself. I call them Yeti cocktails. When I'm going to the lake or the pool or the river and I'm putting a drink in a Yeti, this is my Yeti cocktail right here.
You know, this is refreshing. really well. Thank you so much, Chris, for going up on that. And
Absolutely.
I guess it's my turn, right?
Yes, chef, what is gonna happen with that gigantic potato?
So you don't need to get a potato this big. This is a russet Idaho potato. We're gonna cut this down in half so it's more manageable. And we're gonna just try to get it to maybe, I would say, like a quarter of an inch
Okay,
in width.
very nice.
And be careful, you guys, when you're cutting with this. Make sure your knives are sharp. We're gonna cut them. You know, you can cut matchsticks. You can cut them as thick or thin as you want. The only thing I'm asking is just to make sure that they're consistent cuts. Then you want to have a bowl of water. And you see all this starch coming out right now?
Already see it, yep.
So this is what will burn. So as you mix it, the more starch will come out. Make sure it's cold water. And also make sure you're switching it out. So we're gonna cut this right here.
Yeah, that's impressive. Those look amazing.
And now we're just gonna rinse this off.
Cool.
So as this sits, it's still gonna collect more and more starch at the top.
Cool.
Usually you want to cut the potatoes, rinse them until the water is completely clear.
Beautiful.
Put them into have cold water. You can put some ice. It really doesn't matter. It just helps crisp up the potatoes.
Cool.
And then what we're gonna do, if you could, Chris, put this into the fridge.
Got it.
And then we're gonna let that sit for 4 hours. Please make sure everything is dry and no water going in when the oil's hot.
Yes,
So
the water and oil do not mix.
Does not mix.
Okay.
So the first thing, you want to make sure that this oil is going to be at 300 degrees because we're going to do 2 different methods of the cooking process. The first initial part is going to be the internal cooking. So it's going to make it to where it's kind of like mashy and completely cooked through. It's going to look ugly, but it's all right because we're going to raise the heat up to 375. 375, 400, you'll be able to, in small batches, get the most crispy potatoes. But you know what? With that being said, we're gonna let this slowly come up on low.
Okay.
But there's one thing we gotta do, and that's talk about the meat. So since we have the potatoes sitting, we still have to let them dry. So say it was 4 hours later, let's get these potatoes out of the water.
Okay.
Let's get them drying. And then while they're drying, we can start talking about different cuts of meat, and then I'll show you how to grind the meat so you can start portioning out smash burgers. We have our potatoes cut, dried after they soak for 4 hours. You want them to dry as much as you can. So with this being said, we're gonna have these sitting off to the side as they continue to air dry.
Okay.
And we're gonna go straight into the meat.
Look at this thing. This is like next level machinery. I have to stop saying next level.
Now, this is awesome because it has this off black. It is sick. I love this. I brought over my meat grinder.
Yes.
This is one of the best meat grinders I've bought for home use.
Okay.
This is perfect for what we're going to be doing. So we're going to go over a couple different types of meat. Considering all this is just us, I took a liberty to buy several different cuts. So we're going to have this will be chuck. That's in almost every single burger that you always get, always has chuck. I mean, it has a little bit of it in it. So another one that a lot of people don't realize is actually a really good one is skirt or flank steak is a very good piece. Any meat that is used by the animal, any part of the animal like the round or the flank steak or the chuck, the brisket are all perfect for grinding in stews or meats, burgers. This is also brisket, speaking of it. So we have brisket, skirt steak, and chuck. So those are the ones we're going to use, and we're going to do equal parts of each. So depends on the person. You usually want about a half a pound to 3/4 of a pound per person. So these are going to be 4-ounce patties, and we're going to, 3-ounce patties. So we're going to have 6 ounces each because we don't want it to be too large, and you don't want it to be, it should be enough to be able to pick in your hand, in one hand the burger, and the other hand the beer. Or in this case, a watermelon drink.
Yes.
So once you get those portioned out and you pick your meat, make sure you put them in the freezer at least a half hour before you set up your meat grinder.
And explain to the people at home why you want to freeze it. Do like, what do you call that? Like a par freeze?
That's
like
a good
soft
point.
Freeze?
You do. You want, so it's the same thing with cutting bacon. You want to put it in the freezer because what's going to happen is it'll be easier to slice and it will also be easier to go through the meat grinder. If this was really warm, it would get all stuck in here, and plus what's happening with the meat grinder? Friction. Friction is going to cause heat,
Yep.
and that's going to start to cook. And also, the same thing you got to be careful with is pathogens, and that's how you can get really sick. Same thing with sausage or any forced meat. So you also want to make sure all this silver skin is removed prior. Since I bought this at the grocery store, H-E-B.
Nice.
Best grocery store ever.
It really is.
We will not have any silver skin already on here, but just make sure, I mean, a little bit of this, you can take this off. This isn't like, this is just sinew, and it's just going to get coiled up in here and then prevent more meat from coming out. So you just want to cut it just a little bit so it can just fit nicely through. You don't want to be pushing it in and all that. You just want to gently guide. Cool. So turn it on. We're going to start letting it go.
Look at that. Look at that. We've got burgers. Apologies if y'all are listening and the sound of the machine is a little loud, but if, you know, hopefully you can hear what is going on. This is why you have to watch on YouTube, folks, because we've got some really cool things to show y'all.
Yeah, so we're going to put this through twice.
Okay.
Put the meat through the grinder. I'm going to be more specific, considering people are also listening and not just watching.
Sure, sure.
So, like, you know, you can turn it off in between.
Look at
A,
that.
it's kind of annoying, and
that
B
is incredible looking. I mean, how many times have I bought chopped hamburger meat at the grocery store and it comes out looking exactly like that?
And it's more expensive.
And it's more expensive.
Because the more someone does something to something, the more you're paying. You're paying for labor.
You're paying for labor. Exactly.
So,
exactly.
you know, when you go and buy meat that's already seasoned, you're paying more money for that when you could just do your own seasonings to it. You're going to save a lot more money. Yep. You can add whatever seasonings you already have.
Yeah.
And it's never necessary. I mean, some people say be careful because you don't really know how old that meat is when it's starting to be seasoned.
Oh, yeah. Trust your nose, right?
Not saying that about any grocery stores around here, but just always be cautious.
Fair enough.
So around here, I'm going to have right here, Chris, if you could take a video of this.
Love to.
That way I can show you. So see how it's slowly coming out?
Oh, yeah.
You don't need to save the whole thing because we're going to go through one more time. So with that being said, I'm going to show you exactly.
Oh, that's all the meat. You did it.
So that was all the meat, but we're going to go through one more time.
Okay.
So if you do, you could go ahead and just, you know, go with this if you wanted to. But if you, since you already pulled this whole thing out, assembled it and everything, just do it twice.
Yeah.
You're going to get a better product.
Excellent.
So it looks like it's more emulsified, if that doesn't even make sense. So you can see here how there's like little pieces of fat separated from the strands of meat.
Yes.
And when you look down here, it's more incorporated.
Night and day.
Same thing if you're a hunter, which I'm sure if you're a hunter, you're already doing this, but you can do this with venison. You can do this with elk if you're from up north. Or if you're in like, I don't know, Netherlands or something like that, like reindeer meat and all that.
Oh, wow.
You know, you can do this with any meat that you can get your hands on.
Cool. It's just crazy to me for a person that's never ground meat before. The fact that, like, when I buy the ground meat at the store, all it was chuck, brisket, and flank put through the grinder. To me, it seems like this exotic thing that I have no idea how it's made.
And that's a good point too. And that brought up another thing I forgot to even bring up. And you want a good mixture of different ratio of fat to protein.
Oh, sure. When you get like 70-30, 80-20.
Exactly. 80-20 is your standard. So if you get a big, they call them bibos, a giant log of ground beef that you see in restaurants, or if you go to Sam's Club or anywhere like that, you're going to find them. It's almost always 80-20, and it's almost always 100% chuck. So this mixture, I would say, is more of a, I would say it's more in the 80-20.
That's what I would have guessed.
It's probably around more in the 80-20.
Just by eyeballing it, that's what I was going to suggest.
So keeping it on the ice.
Now you've got those gloves on, you got meat hands, but it looks like you need a sip of your drink, so I got you. I got you, fam.
Oh, it's good.
Yes.
Every time.
Awesome.
So we're there.
Cool.
So
and you're just making balls, so let me go ahead and
we're going to ball them up.
You
know, they don't have to be 100% perfect. They don't have to be like 3 on the dot. Give me 3.3.
Okay.
And then what I like to do is I kind of make it like a little wheel, or
I see what you're doing.
You know, you're just kind of forming the shape already.
Yeah.
So that way, once you press it, it's not too tall to where it's going to smash nice and evenly.
So not a perfect sphere. It almost looks like a marshmallow.
So when you go to a restaurant, or my favorite are those bistros, and then they're like, oh, we got our Wagyu burger for $28. Get out of here, man. That's
what, so that's what I'm thinking later when we get to our finished product, and I've got my pairing all ready to go. I used to work at a steakhouse downtown in Austin. It's no longer there. Now it's a high-rise building, just like everything else downtown. But I used to work at this steakhouse, and that was one of the biggest sellers, was like the $25 hamburger, because it was delicious. And yeah, you'd have a big juicy burger, bunch of hand-cut French fries, and a glass of red wine. Come on. It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like steak and frites, but the poor version.
Exactly.
Or your lunch version. We dried off some of our fries already, so they already been in the fridge for about 4 or 5 hours. Starch gone, so now it's pretty dry because oil and water do not mix. So with the help from Chris,
yes,
we're going to, we didn't have a spider, so we got a little thing we're setting up here to get the fries out.
Yeah, we figured it out. We're gonna try not to burn the house down.
Exactly. So the oil right now is at 300 degrees. With a small handful, we're gonna place into the oil.
You want to take a little video?
Yeah. We're gonna place the fries into the oil, or the potatoes rather, because they're not fried yet. And you want to see a bunch of little bubbles, which are starting to come out.
Yeah.
The reason why you see these bubbles right here is because all the moisture from the inside of the potato are coming out, and this is perfect what you want. You don't want the potato to soak up the oil, or else you're going to get a really flaccid potato.
Okay.
So this is perfect right now. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to start going on our actual special sauce. So there's a million different ways to make a sauce for it. This is the one I prefer. So in a bowl, we're going to mix these ingredients right here. So we have our ketchup, hot sauce of your choice. The hot sauce of your choice, mustard. I like your regular ketchup. Your regular yellow mustard for this. It's perfect. Worcestershire sauce or Worcestershire sauce, however you pronounce it. I always get it wrong. Some mayonnaise you can make at home. We're using Hellmann's. I prefer Duke's or Hellmann's, whichever. And then a little bit of dill pickles is option. And you can also, if you don't say you don't have a hot sauce, or for some reason you have some pickled jalapenos, this also helps with your brine. A little bit of brine and some heat. So, what I'm going to do, we're going to add, I would say about 2 tablespoons or so of some diced up, small diced pickles. We're going to put, I would say, probably about a tablespoon of ketchup.
Okay.
About 2 teaspoons of hot sauce.
Oh yeah.
1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce.
Oh yeah.
And then about, I don't know, tablespoon of mustard, maybe a little less, if I can get this all out of here.
So this reminds me of a sauce so there's these 2 chefs I know, right? And they're twin brothers. They come out of Arizona. They're like young, up-and-coming chefs. And their names are Jake and Joey Pollock. And they're twin brothers, and they have a secret sauce called bussin' sauce.
Bussin' sauce.
Bussin' sauce. And it's very, very similar to your recipe. But shout out to Jake and Joey, because these guys know how to cook. And, like I said, that sauce is just dynamite.
This mixture that we have here, we're going to add, I would say, I don't know, a quarter.
No, it looks like quarter cup,
about
third
a quarter cup.
Yeah.
Quarter, third cup, and some mayonnaise.
Yes.
So the oil is still 300, still maintained, because we're also adding small amounts at a time.
Yeah, there we go.
It's slowly going there. Once it falls, you're going to see some bubbles coming out. Just take your time with this process. This is the most important part of the fries.
And see, this is the part that I never knew. So anytime I ever made, French fries in the fryer like this, I just thought fries go in at 350, threw them in at 350, and then they just never they never came out like fries.
We're gonna go ahead. So we have the condiments made.
Yeah.
We're blanching off our fries. So right now, once we blanch all of our fries, we're gonna start smashing the burgers next, and then
Okay.
we're going to assemble, and then we're done.
Awesome.
Thinking about 4th of July, which is coming up and
Yes.
everything. I want American cheese on my burger. It's the best.
I'm cool with it.
Potato bun. We're throwing a little Texas style by adding the little jalapeno in there. What's up, Whataburger? You know what I mean?
Yes. Here, I'm
we're
gonna
say
steal a
that.
little corner of cheese
Take it.
because I have a buddy here, and she loves cheese.
Get that video of man.
Bella, a little cheese. There you go, buddy. She's
So-
like, wait, where's the rest?
We were giving her cheese earlier.
Yeah.
So while we're going over this whole, okay, so now we want this lettuce in ice water. And the
Yes.
reason why, if you can hear, you want that crunch.
Love it.
That's going to make a big difference for the burger because some people don't add, some people put, like Shake Shack, they'll add like a leafy type of green, which is
Yeah.
nice, but I don't like biting into it. And you bite, same thing with the tomato I was talking about. You bite into the whole lettuce comes out, slaps you in the face.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I
And the
cannot tell you
onion,
how annoying that is. But not saying that all their burgers are delicious. They're very good. Shout out to you guys. Love it, Madison Park.
Cool. You want to
Yeah,
take
we got
take a
everything
quick
ready?
break, and
Let's
then
take a
we'll
quick
get
break.
these burgers rolling.
Yeah, and then we'll go straight into it.
Cool.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Right now, we got our oil is already at about 375, 380. You want it between, like I was saying, 375 and 400. See how it's actually ramped up? We're starting to get that crispiness.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to have Chris over here working on that. I'm going to start smashing the burgers and start assembling everything right now.
Beautiful.
So we're going to take our bun, start toasting these up. And if you look here, we're going to have these toasting here, ready to go. Chris almost has this done. Little batches like we're doing. We're going to season as you go. So the burgers is the opposite of a steak. You don't need to have this at room temperature before you cook it since we're smashing it down.
Right.
We're going to smash them down. Add a little bit of the oil. We're going to mix it around so it's completely coated. And then we're going to add this down. Paper so it doesn't stick.
New York
And a
Giants, baby.
little trick.
You got that extra muscle there from the meat mallet. That's helping you press that down to get the perfect smash.
That's right. Now, you can do them one at a time like we're going to be doing this one.
Yeah.
We're going to cook 3/4 of the way so we can build a crust.
Okay.
And then we're going to take them out. That way one side's going to be raw, and then we're going to flip it, and then we're going to add the cheese, and then that way it won't be overcooked, and the cheese will be nice and melted. So we're going to take one off. About, you can get a picture of that.
That's what I'm doing.
See right here? Perfect. Right around here, it's all the way cooked. It's still raw here. This is perfect time to take it off. So we got a beautiful crust
Gorgeous.
here. And now we're going to let this rest on the side. We almost have another burger ready to come off.
Okay.
So within probably a couple more minutes, we'll be able to take this burger, put a new one on. Right?
And while we are waiting for these French fries to cool down so we don't burn our faces off, Chef is going to finish up these burgers. And in the interest of keeping the show rolling, I'm going to go ahead and present this bottle of wine.
What are we drinking, Chris?
So, we are drinking good again, my friend. Drinking well, drinking good, I don't know. But we are drinking, that's for sure. So, we have a bottle of red blend
Oh, yeah.
from the Dukeman Family Winery. The name of this wine is Canto Felice, which is translation in Italian means happy song. So we are singing a happy song today. A lot of people might not immediately gravitate towards wine to pair with a burger, but I find it to be a very natural pairing. Like we described earlier, this ground beef is just steaks passed through a grinder. And what better combination than red wine and steak? So, We've got a very nice table red. It's described as a bittersweet wine, so a little bit on the sweeter side, but not super sugary or anything like that. We've got a very nice balanced wine, and it is a blend. So if you watched episode 1, Italian Spirit, Chef and I were talking about how the growing climate here in Texas has a similar either latitude or longitude, somebody can tell me in the comments, to Italy. So a lot of Italian grapes thrive very well here in Texas. So this is a blend of Sangiovese, which is the grape of Chianti. So if you've ever had a Chianti, then you are familiar with Sangiovese. And then a proprietary blend of other red grapes that I don't have the answer to. They don't provide their exact blend. But we've got a very nice table red, a little bittersweet, a little dry, and we're going to taste this here in a second and see what we taste. But we've got a nice tannin structure. Tannins are one of those wine buzzwords that confuses people sometimes. So, are you familiar with tannins?
I know about tannins. I don't know a lot about them.
So what it is it causes a kind of chemical reaction in your mouth, on your palate, because it is kind of like in the beginning of the show we were talking about bitterness, similar thing. So the bitterness of like the stems of a grape as opposed to the juice of a grape.
Oh,
right. So that's where you get the tannins from. So when they make these grapes, when they make wine, they're not just using the grape juice, they're using the stems, the leaves, the seeds, all those things. So if you kind of close your eyes and imagine chewing on a grape stem, what that's going to do to your palate, it's going to like zap all the moisture out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I keep wiping my hand because I've got fryer grease all over my hand and trying to open wine.
It's kind of hard to do that, for sure, Chris, I know.
This is the first. I've never fried French fries and then
opened up a bottle
popped a bottle of wine. So we're doing things brand new here. So yes, it has enough tannin, and so the beauty of having tannin in a wine is that when you have something rich and fatty, like a burger, like French fries, like the bussin sauce, with, I don't want to call it bussin sauce, but we're going to call it bussin sauce. Yeah, it is bussin. That has all this fat and richness. You want something that can cut through that. So that'll be the tannin in the wine. Already I'm looking at the color here. Not so ruby red, a little darker. You want to do a little tasting with me?
Yeah.
Cool.
Cheers.
Cheers. Give it a little swirl. Check it out over the white table. You can see the reflection there, right? That gives you a good indication of the color of it. And so you can do a little swirl here. Kind of aerate it. That's just some fanciness that I saw at a winery once.
It's a good way to do it. I mean, I have no idea. I never saw that. Wasn't sure if I was going to pour it over the side, it was all going to spill out.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, hopefully I don't mess up their kitchen with this.
Here we go. So give it a little sniff. And we've got like some red fruit. Immediately I get red fruit, like dark cherries, like those really dark, rich cherries. Blackberry and currant maybe.
This is extremely good.
Let's
I cannot
give
believe
it a
this
taste.
was made in Texas. Not
I
saying
love
anything
it.
bad about Texas wine. I'm still new to the whole process.
Well, one of the cool things about Dukeman Winery is that they use Texas grapes that are grown in Texas, and the wine is produced in Texas. So you got a lot of Texas growers, Texas wineries, that will outsource their grapes. They grow maybe in Tuscany, and then they come here and they just produce the wine here. Not Dukeman.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah,
I never knew
Dukeman
that.
grows the grapes and their own vineyards.
I didn't know that they actually.
That's fantastic.
That's extremely good. And
Yeah,
how much was
and
this bottle?
so I think this was around 14, but you can get it cheaper.
Wow, that's
other places,
really
probably
cheap
around
for
like
that
10 or
bottle.
11. And they won't even transport the grapes; they'll transport the juice. They'll grow the grapes in Tuscany, juice it, and then transport it here.
Wow.
And then turn it into wine.
That's insane.
So yeah, this is gonna go pretty well with that burger, huh?
All right, I'm gonna start actually setting it up. Actually,
I'll
let
pour
me
us a
have a little
glass.
bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
pour
kind
us
of
a
want
glass.
some of that. I'm gonna start building them right now.
Cool.
We're gonna start talking about how to assemble it so the fries don't get all soggy on us and everything. So also, if you could, Chris.
Yeah, I'm coming right over.
Could you show them this burger? So we already got our crust already there, right?
Oh my gosh.
The thing is, they're still a little raw, correct?
Yeah.
I knew that we are going to be talking about this, and you can always get them seared off beforehand. Cook one side, get your crust, and then finish them off because they're still going to be cooking because we want the cheese to melt.
Yeah,
so I wiped out the pan, got all the burgers back out. We got this nice and clean. Everything's ready to start going. I'm going to add a little bit more oil just so it doesn't stick to the bottom. A little mix. And since it's just us two right now, I'm only going to put 4 of those burgers on.
Oh, we're doing double burgers.
We're doing double burgers, Chris.
Oh, that's music to my ears.
I don't want no single patty, Chris.
I don't want no scrub.
So, so another thing with American cheese, if it's been sitting out, do about one per. You don't need to put 2.
Yeah, I agree.
It's too much cheese at that point. So we got 1. Separate them with a little bit of parchment paper. It's going to sear, make that initial sear at the bottom. Also, I got these juices from the pan. I'm going to put a little bit on that water here. Okay. And then, where did I have? There it is. And now
that's how we're going to melt the cheese, yeah?
Yep.
Brilliant.
So we couldn't really find one because I brought my own pan.
Okay.
So I didn't have a lid for this one.
Oh, but it's working already.
But this is working out. We're kind of caramelized. We took the meat juice. It's still on high heat. And we're just kind of melting it a little bit. It's starting to completely melt. It's already there. See, we're just going to cook off that little bit of liquid. And now, as that's melting, we're going to be perfectly good to go.
Yes. And then we are about to eat.
So
the best part of the show is when we get to have our delicious meal.
So here. Now there's several ways you can go about this. Now you can put maybe you wanted something like a tomato in between. I like putting just them on top of each other. Yeah, some people they'll put like an onion in between, kind of like in and out. So we have this here, ready to go.
Got a beautiful assembly line.
Ready to go.
I'm not sure if Chef mentioned, but when we were off air for a second, we caramelized a little onion with some garlic just to give it a nice little condiment there.
And say hey, you have a torch handy for whatever reason, and your cheese, you have some cheddar or something that's not like a melting cheese. Well, it's a melting cheese, but it's it's a harder cheese. Do a little torch on there.
Would you call that a little torcheroo?
I would say a little torcheroo on there. Get that cheese melted. But I want it just like that. See what I'm saying with this? It's turning into its own sauce. That's what you want. So we're going to put a little bit of a binder. So we're going to put a little sauce.
Okay.
Saucy.
Is that top bun or bottom bun?
This is the bottom bun. Okay. And we're gonna sauce it at the last second on the top. I like it on both ends.
Okay.
So we got a liberal amount of sauce.
Yes.
And then we're gonna add, kind of like you're building a house, even though I don't know anything about building a house. So you want a little...
Don't build your house with lettuce and tomatoes, I'm just saying.
Yeah, you want a little texture here. So you don't need too much. So just pick which one you want, I'm kind of fumbling around.
No, it looks great.
We're gonna add a little of our pre-seared off onions. So we're gonna add a little tomato.
I love tomatoes.
Kind of as a base here.
Okay.
And then you gotta want a little pepper. A little pepper and salt your tomatoes. You can't go wrong with that. So we're gonna get a little salt over here. So
don't you mean saltaroo?
A little salty salt.
A little salty salt.
We're gonna add a little pickled jalapenos.
Okay.
Add as much as you want.
Go a little light on mine. Maybe just one or two.
Chris is a little lighter with the
You can call me a big baby. It's
I'm not gonna say that. Hell no. I have a Mexican family, so I'm used to the heat.
All right.
So now we're gonna add our burger on top.
Look at that. Look at you go. That is amazing.
And then a little more sauce, just a dollop of roux. You can get real crazy, make an animal style and put a whole bunch.
Sure.
You can make animal style, put a bunch of cheese. That's in and out, by the way.
Yes.
And then you can put some of this sauce and some more cheese if you have extra on there. And boom, there it is. Get the side view. Bam, the juice. There it is. That's the good thing. See about the potato roll smashes into one whole piece. And then let's cut right into it just to show you. I usually don't do this for myself, just to show you the layers. Let's go ahead and show you. So, you know, you get the layers. Burger should be, you eat it with one hand. You should hold it in one hand. It shouldn't be one of those monsters where it's like you're dislocating your jaw.
Yeah.
You know, like that's not a burger I want.
We ready to get in this?
Let's do it. Also, I made a little, we took some ketchup. We can do a whole video on how to make a spicy ketchup. But just for today, I took some ketchup from his fridge and a little chipotle. Just a little chipotle from a can, a little adobo, a little chop, a little mix.
I'm dumping my fries in that.
And there it is. We got our fries, we got our burgers, we're done, we got our wine.
This is a beautiful meal.
Cheers, Chris.
Cheers, my brother. Episode 2 in the books.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, they're a little long, but it's a process, and we want to show you everything.
I'm getting right in there. I'm not waiting. I am so excited about this. Oh my God. I am blown away. I'll say it. Best burger I've ever had. I gotta try French fry.
Well, French fry, we'll dunk. You get that pillow-ness, the pillow-ness, that's not even a word, but I don't know how to describe it, like a pillow-ish type of, like, it's got a little crust.
You get a little crunch.
You got a little crunch from the actual bun. It's got that fluff. It kind of melds to the burger.
Plus the flavor. You have so much flavor.
The flavor, the acidity from the pickled jalapenos, the pickles themselves, the dill pickle. Got a little bit of heat on the back from the pickled jalapenos and the hot sauce that we added, but it's not overpowering. I definitely think that even kids could eat this and not even realize how spicy it is, or maybe just leave out the pickled jalapenos. Depends if they're used to it or not.
Yep.
But I mean, we made this, and you know, we did go slow. It's not like we just got in and started making it. We wanted to explain it. Yeah, it took a little while, but you can see, even us explaining it, you could do everything step by step that we did today and do it at your home.
Yep. I think this was a winner, and I've learned so much. I appreciate you showing us how to make these delicious burgers. And
thanks for the wine. The wine's really great too, because I didn't believe that was from Texas.
Yeah, I think it goes great with the burger. Cheers, my brother.
All right, till next one.
Till next time. Thank y'all for watching. See you soon.
Thanks, guys.